this introduction to current events, or maybe very recent history for this particular area of Ukraine at the moment, isn't getting any easier with us driving into Bucha, a town that gained worldwide fame because of the war crimes that Russians carried out for the world to see. But there's a lot that hasn't made headlines as well. First stop here is at the local cemetery with a special section with unidentified bodies. There is some shooting in the background here, but that's a shooting range. So if you hear that, don't worry about it, it's fine.
They were shot by Russian soldiers. 5th of March 2022. And people say that sometimes it's possible to see man without leg. His father of the family. This part of the cemetery began from this grave, so you can see war for Ukrainians began in 2014. Yeah.
Outside the many existing graves of fallen soldiers, new ones are added all too regularly.
February, but it is fresh. It means that his body was returned back from Russian controlled territory. His truck driver, sometimes they depict his profession, maybe his hobby. Here you can see similar, the same crosses. It means that state paid for their funerals, and I told you about these people. Most of them identified. So you can see unmarked graves, and their bodies were found in different places: attics, basements, maybe some forests just on the streets during occupation, and samples of DNA were taken from them and they buried.
All unnamed graves numbered, and the numbers are in the hundreds.
This one was identified and is not cross. It's Ahmed, Muslim. Ahmed. He was killed also in. It's not full date. There is
they
not
don't know.
An exact date of his death. Just a month.
This cemetery is home to over 600 numbered graves. Unidentified people buried here temporarily until they can be identified. How long that temporary will be is not known. When the Russians invaded the area, they probably killed thousands of locals in what is now called the Bucha massacre. Also, this is just one of the many locations where people were buried after the Russians left again.
They built new one.
This is the Church of St. Andrew and All Saints in Bucha. This church is now a museum, place of remembrance of this little section of the Russian genocide of Ukrainians.
She lost in February 23, before full-scale invasion. You know, Russians, maybe it was just sabotage groups. They just abducted people. When I visited this place for the first time, it was just field like this. It is now it is memorial, but it is a royal grave. During occupation, Russians did not let people to go to the cemetery. They told all people must be here. Some of them died of natural causes. But most of them were killed in the back of their heads. 5 years old child Anna. And the Olga was born before Second World War.
All the people on this wall were identified bodies that were buried in this mass grave. Children as young as a few years old, grandmas and granddads over the age of 80. Some of them were from the 1930s, so they would have experienced the Second World War and remembered it as well. This one doesn't have a date. It's because the body was found somewhere along the way, and there are many more if you look closely. We're driving on Yablunska Street in central Bucha. This street might not look like much, but it was basically one of the very first glimpses the outside world saw of Ukraine after the area was liberated after some 5 weeks of occupation. This is the very street where quite a few of the early videos of Russian atrocities against Ukrainians played out. Random villagers were shot and killed with any weapon the Russians could lay their hands on, from small arms to main battle tanks. Over 3 years later, Bucha is rebuilding, but the hundreds of identified and probably thousands of unidentified and still missing villagers won't make it an easy recovery. And the Russians? They have left as they were kicked out by the brave Ukrainian army. Here we can see the Russians marching in, with the distinctive V markings among others. We are about to arrive at our destination, just off-screen on the upper left side. My guide showed this video of the direct aftermath of executions by Russians. Unfortunately, I'll have to show what I saw to show how Russia really is. 8 men were killed here by the Russians and were found after the area was liberated. The site behind this nondescript office building has become a memorial site, one of way too many in Bucha alone.
These guys were absolutely armless. They had nothing, even maybe knives. I don't know. They were just local residents. Yablunska Street also.
My guide showing me a video of newly liberated Bucha, where the Russians left a destroyed town with bodies of residents in the streets. This was only the very surface. Many more clear war crimes would be uncovered in the days and weeks after this video was made by a local. The building we're at right now, just a random office building, was used by the Russians as a local headquarters. The basement revealed that it was used to hold, torture and kill Ukrainians here. This would only be known shortly after this clip was recorded. So the building on the left side of me here, this big building, was used by the Russian occupiers as their local and regional headquarters for the time they were here. The execution of the 8 guys took place just around the corner at the back there. The intersection we're leaving now is the one where the Russian tanks and other equipment rolled into in early March 2022. Some of these clips are showing what you've seen earlier in this video. The Russians are gone here. Dead bodies have been given a proper burial after sometimes weeks in the streets, and it seems like Bucha is a peaceful place again. The wounds caused by the Russians won't heal though, not in 1,000 years.